Hi everybody, how you doing? Have we got a doozy of a video for you today? Ooh yes, it's a twisted, messed up story. Whether it's real or not is for you to decide, because it's another episode of Ghosts, Myths and Legends. Are you sitting comfortably? Shall we begin? Our story is all about the legend of Sawney Bean. No, not that one. Think more Hills of Eyes and Wrong Turn. Alexander Sawney Bean was born in East Lothian in the 16th century. His father was a ditch digger and a hedge trimmer. Now, our Sawney did try and go into the family business, but he didn't really have the inclination for it. You could say, in essence, our Sawney was a work-shy sod. When he grew up, he married a very wild, vicious woman called Black Angus Douglas, who had been accused of being a witch. So, with their new married life, they did what every married couple does and decides to flee normal life and go and live in a cave. They decided to move into a cave in Ayrshire near Ballantrae. Now, this cave is massive. It's more than a mile long. It's got loads of side passages. It floods at high tide, so it's the perfect hidden getaway. It's everywhere you want to be if you're getting away from life, I suppose. Now, our Sawney didn't like work, as I said previously. He was not inclined to do any kind of manual labour or anything, but he did know that he had to find a way to support his new life and his new wife. Good new husband has to look after the missus. And so he's there and he's racking his brains, and it's, what can I do? How can I support my life? And he decides, robbery. This is the way to go. I don't have to do that much hard work. Robbery is the way forward. And then he's pondering a bit more and he's racking his brains and he's thinking, if I rob people and they scurry off on their merry way afterwards, they're going to be able to identify me. This is not good. This is going to bring a cropper to my life, really. And so he comes to the decision that he's just going to murder them. He's going to rob them and murder them. Job done. And then, in the start of their twisted little life story, I don't know what brought them to this thought process. Maybe because they live in a cave and it was hard to pop to the shops. And maybe because they were a bunch of lazy little see you next Tuesdays, they didn't think about living off the land, as in maybe a bit of farming or, planting some vegetables. Oh, no. Not our Sawney. They decided, well, why don't we eat the people we kill? Can't let good meat go to waste, can you?
No.
Even the little one agrees. See, can't let good meat go. So they start ambushing people and robbing them and killing them and eating their flesh. Now, the cave that they called home was by a network of lots of lonely village single sort of track roads around, that it was easy to hijack and ambush, but no one's really gonna pay much attention because it is really out of the way. So they were onto a good thing, and you knew they were onto a good thing because they were breeding like rabbits. They weren't really, going without or, really like so malnourished they couldn't have kids or like anything. They had 14 children. 14. Now, what they did was absolutely crazy. Bonkers, evil even. But I just have to say here as a woman, and I know a lot of women back then did give birth on their own. And, you know, kudos for us nowadays for having what we do. But there would have been maybe sort of midwifey type people. There would have been other women in the villages and towns that could help you. To think that you were just in a cave with your hubby giving birth to 14 kids. Ooh. She needs a shout out for that one. Anywho, the babies grew well and healthy and had a lovely, healthy appetite for human flesh. And as such, this high protein diet, they were growing big and craving more flesh. Now at this time, the area around Ayrshire where they were doing that hunting and gathering, but not in the sense that we know, was racking up the highest list, and to this day it might still be the highest list of missing persons, like ever. So people were searching the area, they were trying to see what was happening, they couldn't find anything, and no one thought of checking the caves. I mean, I suppose no sane person is going to think, well, there's going to be people living in there. It's not what you think, is it? So I suppose that's why they did it. Also, our Sawney and his little bean growing tribe were quite smart. They would throw parts of the bodies and little bits here and there into the ocean, so that every so often it would wash back on the coast and people would find bits and go, well, maybe actually you've got a wild animal problem. Maybe there are some wild animals around here and there, you know, killing all these people, and that's why they go missing. So, you know. So they carried on. Thieving, hunting, killing, pickling flesh for those lean, hard days when maybe the weather wasn't so inclement and people weren't coming out so much, you know, thinking ahead. But alas, for the Sawney legend and his Sawney little bean tribe, their good run wasn't to last forever. Now, mind you, it had lasted 25 years. 25 years of butchering people in a cave. And by now, there was, I think, 48 of them. No, not hers. These were their children having children, and so their grandkids. And obviously the children were having children with each other. So yeah, we've now got that old chestnut incest. So throw all this into the mix. You've got bigger, stronger people that are eating protein-based diets. Incest. Stuff of horrors. Stuff of freaking horror. So, the start of their downfall was one evening, a young married couple. Sorry about my little one in the background. She obviously wants to listen to the gore and guts and just talk over everything. I've now moved downstairs and I still don't get any peace. But alas, back to the story. A young married couple were riding back on one horse from a country fair together. So romantic. And as fate would have it, they came upon the Bean clan. Now, they were very good at their hunting and catching people. There was almost like military style tactics that they could use to get you. At a time, they would be taking 6 people at a time. Now, the poor married couple happened upon them. Before the husband had chance to draw his pistol or react or anything, they'd grabbed his wife off the back of the horse. Her throat was cut. They started ripping out her insides and eating her in front of his very eyes. Now, obviously, they started to come upon him. And this man, you know, he'd seen his wife butchered and was being eaten like something from a zombie film, but he still fought back like a proper true legend, even though he would have been, well, I suppose shock would be setting in, grief, but at that moment the adrenaline was so strong. He fought with his pistol, he fought with his sword, he even fought with his bloody horse over them. By now, because usually they're used to not having this sort of fight in people, it would be done and over. A group of people were starting to come back from the fair, and at this point Sawney thought, okay, we better just leave this one. First time ever, we're going to retreat. We'll go back to the cave. We'll just call this mishap. So they skedoodled back to their little cave, like little rats, and they left behind the butchered wife, the surviving husband, and a group of witnesses who were like, holy shitballs, what the frick did we just see there? So obviously the man took the case to court, and the chief magistrate was like, oh man, we're not having this shit in my no. So he took it to the top, the very tip top power of the land. He took it to King James I. Now King James I was also horrified and stepped into manly man mode. He went down to Ayrshire with an army of 400 men, hunting dogs, and volunteers who decided to help join in this quest to rid the scourge of this mutant-eating, well, not mutant-eating, that sounds like mutant flesh-eating cannibal tribe. Now they went all around the Ayrshire countryside and the coastline, and they couldn't find anything, and they were perplexed and angry. But at last, and there's my little kitty cat in the background coming and joining too, at last, one of the hunting dogs latched on to the smell of decaying flesh, which led right to the cave. Now, making their way, it's dark and it's gloomy, and I can imagine it's like a passage down with this sharp, little bits going down, and they're walking in with their torchlights, and it's like, I can imagine the stink was disgusting as well. I mean, I know they were pickling flesh, but still, all those people there as well, peeing, shitting, giving birth, sex smells, reckon it. Ugh. Anyway, it's just dark, probably stinking and disgusting. Stinking and disgusting. Ugh. And dark. And they're walking along. And imagine their horror when they came upon the scene that befell their eyes. There's this great big clan huddled together in this, must be like the bigger main sort of belly of the cave. And they're there among human remains, and there's body parts on the walls of the cave, and there's barrels of pickled flesh, and then you find like all the personal possessions of their victims, like clothes and jewellery and watches, and I mean, if you're going to kill them, why weren't they spending anything anyway? But I suppose they were so now used to we don't need to have anything, we'll just eat them, that it was just mounting up in corners in the cave. Now, obviously, even though they were freaks, they were overpowered by the amount of men that were in the little army posse, and they were taken away, and they were sent to be executed straight away. They weren't deemed human enough or fit to have a child. So the men were killed first with their penises, meaning it's not like they're going to breed anymore, is it? They're going to kill it. Their penises were cut off and thrown into fires. Their arms and legs were cut off as per what they did to their victims, and they were left to bleed slowly to death in front of their women. Yes, indeedy. Now, why he was dying, and I don't know what he meant by this, and it's also quite a scary thought when you think about it. I mean, it could just be the ravings or an insane lunatic, but he said, it isn't over it will never be over. Okay. Now, when the men were totally dead, as Scrooge would say, dead as a doornail, it was a turn for the women and the children, and they were burnt alive at the stake. Now, some people say that he had a daughter that, I don't know, maybe she got fed up with her life, maybe none of the brothers wanted to shag her, I don't know, but she apparently, some say anyway, she left and started a life in one of the nearby towns, obviously keeping her identity a secret. And where she lived now in the town, she planted a dal tree. Now, dal trees, the name means sorrow and grief, so I don't know if that was some kind of, she was feeling sorrowful for what they did. I mean, maybe she wasn't as bad. Maybe there's like always one good one and a bunch of freaks. I don't know. But the interesting thing as well is the dal tree is what they use for the hanging trees and gallows trees. And as the moral of the story would go, and I don't know why, they started calling the tree the hairy tree. But that's neither here nor there. As the story goes, when they were found and killed and everything, somehow her real identity came out, and the angry townsfolk hung her from the boughs of the tree that she planted herself. But I read somewhere, and I've been trying to find it, but I can't find where I saw it to. One of the daughters did get away, but she was still batshit crazy, and she married someone who was as crazy as her, and she started carrying on in the family legacy and killing people and eating them with her husband. But she was caught pretty soonish after that. So I'm not sure. Maybe what he meant was that out there was more of them that was killing and eating people, and maybe they was smart and could do it. Who knows? Is there some hidden, deep, dark, secret cannibal mutant family hiding in the depths of a cave in far-flung parts of England that we don't know about? Who knows? Who knows? But the idea of that is more frightening to me than zombies, and vampires, and werewolves. Because freaking mutants that eat ya and also try and show ya scare the living Jesus out of me. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed our tale of grossness and found it enlighteningly interesting. Now, obviously, this is a legend. Some people say it's true. Some people say it's just a story. Some say it was just done by the English because of the Jacobean War, and it was a ruse to show the barbaric brutality of the Scottish. Who knows? The cave is real. The cave is there. It was in a newspaper tabloid many moons nearer the time of it happening, as in the stories of prison stories and murderers. Say what you will. I personally like to think that there was some barbarous, as much as it scares me, mutant family, and they were the inspiration for the Hills of Ice. So anyway, I hope you liked this episode and you look forward to more. If you liked it, give us a thumbs up, hit a subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you can get more of this, and I will join you soon on another adventure of ghosts, myths and legends. Goodbye.